Now, from the last video, I have been on Casio as my daily driver, but I decided to switch it up because while it is better than Windows in terms of performance, and I do get the feel of it is a fast distro, it's just I don't feel it. What I mean by I don't feel it is I don't feel comfortable with it. Maybe it's because I'm not used to Arch, or maybe because I just don't like KDE, not like that anyways. So yeah, it's been rather unfortunate for me that I couldn't continue using PikaOS. So I've been distro hopping for the past 2 days. Once on Fedora, once on Debian. Now I am on PikaOS, and I'm gonna explain why in a bit. Oh damn, gonna need to fix that hole. Difficulties aside, I have been on a journey to try to see what I am comfortable using and see what I can do to maximize my performance on a dual core CPU with an RX 580 4GB. And it suffice to say that I have successfully found something that I'm more comfortable with, but it didn't come with its issues. Meet PikaOS, a distro based on Debian with the intent of making installation easier and to make it good out of the box if you want to start gaming. So it's not too different from CatchyOS meta package for gaming. It has the same meta package with Proton, uh, Goverlay, and all of that. But this is based on Debian, and the performance, if you're going to check other video of benchmarking OSs, is not too different, so I am comfortable with using this. However, during this installation process, I lost my Windows 10 on my SSD. So how did that happen? Because OS use a UEFI and their own bootloader. So I think that bootloader caused my Windows 10 SSD to fork itself. And now every time I try to open that SSD, it always says missing OS on the top right corner. But with me saying that, considering on Windows 10 I was playing Valorant, and right now I don't feel the need to play Valorant anytime soon, I think I am comfortable enough to stay on this OS until I can find a way to get my Windows 10 back or understand PikaOS more. So, what makes PikaOS good? Let's go into the computer. So, as you can see, I am already in PikaOS. Not too different from any other distros, especially the ones that's based on gaming, anyways. But here's the reason why I end up picking this one is because when I'm going to Debian 13 for the first time, it took a lot of time for me to set up everything, setting up, well, starting from sudo apt update and everything, all of that, so I can get Steam, the Proton Plus, and Goverlay, and the other things I need for to start gaming out of the box. So, what makes PikaOS a standout? It's based on Debian, and to be honest, it's somewhat similar to Novara in that regards, but what makes PikaOS different from Novara, it's based on Debian, which is why I end up using this. Now, I know a lot of people don't want to use Fedora because of, well, Fedora being a partner of Red, being made by people from Red Hat, and, well, that entire controversy is deserving of its own video, to be honest. But back to the point of why I'm making this video, PikaOS has a lot of good features, to be honest, for people who are new to want to do Linux gaming. Gaming out of the box, set up pain-free Linux gaming from the start. Excellent performance, combines up-to-date drivers with a custom of tweaked kernel for speed. We also optimize every package with O3, LTO, and AVX2 for extra speed, which is rather interesting that they are choosing those type of packets. High compatibility. Debian SID based with custom package ensure both software and hardware support. I actually feel it more here because, granted, when I use this, when
playing with Overwatch 2, I have better performance here because normally if you skip your Vulkan shaders from the start of your game, it's going to have to load it while you play the game. So I probably have to play like 5 minutes of being in the training area just to load all the shaders. But here, I didn't have to do that, and automatically I have a much more better experience playing Overwatch 2 here. So I have to say they are doing a lot of good things here. Especially they can make my dual core CPU play a high CPU intensive game that well, then it means it does something good. There are other key features, cute but mascots, this little canary, robin. I don't know what kind of bird it is. I'm probably gonna make a fool out of myself. But back to what I was gonna say. Gaming focus setup. In the start menu, they have gave you the option to install the meta package. Now, this meta package is somewhat similar to the PikaOS meta package. For gaming, you'll get Steam, GOG Games, GoPlay, and all that stuff. High software and hardware compatibility and open source development. Now, there's a lot of flavors here. The one I got is this one, the Gnome Edition, which is written in my first part of the video. There's the Hyperland edition and the Neri edition. Now, I don't want people to make the same mistake I did when installing the Neri edition. The Neri edition eliminates the ability to have the close, minimize, and this, and the super button didn't work. You can't like use your Windows key to do it like this. You have to really rely on hotkeys. On the start, it shows you the different type of hotkeys and you have to memorize it. If you don't like doing that, then I don't recommend Neri Edition to anyone who's just coming from Windows. Get one from KDE or from GNOME. Both of them will be a much more better experience. Now, to the topic of gaming and why I'm going to be using my phone to record this. You see, even with PikaOS and their optimization, it unfortunately cannot help the i3 7100 to record games. Even if I want to go through OBS Studios, as you can see, it's using 13.4% of the available GPU. As you can see, even though OBS is using 13.3% of the CPU power, it's going to increase with the games that you are trying to play. In the video I'm going to be showing you while I'm talking is the results of what happens if I try to game while playing on Linux. The video I'm about to show you during my talk is that what happens if you try to record while playing. It's going to be taking a lot of your frame rates, taking 20 frames at least. At least 20 frames is what happens when I was playing Sleeping Dog. But as you can see in Sonic All-Star Racing Transform, there's a lot of performance taken away if I try to record and play all at once. And this is why you have to have a very powerful CPU if you want to stream, because it's going to be rather demanding on your processor. But with me saying that, let's move on to the test bench now, shall we?
We'll kick things off with a game that I personally like to play, Sonic All-Star Racing Transform, 720p high, and as you can see from the top left corner that we are only using 4.5 gigabytes right now, which is an always a plus on a Linux system compared to Windows. 4 gigabyte is already just running the operating system on itself. Average 60 frames. CPU usage keeps spiking, but that's to be expected from a dual core. Mostly a GPU intensive game, and it's running quite smoothly. Taking down enemies, cutting them off, never felt more better here. Funnily enough, on this game, I couldn't run it on Windows 10, always having a problem, and now I can play it with no problem using Proton GE, which is always a good sight to see. Sleeping Dogs is next, 720p high. As you can see, everything is stable, GPU usage as to be expected, and also CPU. Consistent 16 frames per second, minimal lag, not just minimal actually, barely little lag, only drops 1 frames every second, but I think this game already has its own 60 frames per second cap, so no surprises here. Okay, I'll admit this is a weirder game to be put on this test bench, but I don't think I'll find another time to talk about this game. Lego Marvel Superhero 2 may not be as great as the first game, but this is still a game where I can have a game mode to be playing as Miss Hydra, Shuri, Mantis, and Sif fighting over getting the Infinity Stones. Yes, I know some people may not like this type of game, but I personally found it kind of fun. Just to mess around and see the characters that LEGO Marvel Superheroes 2 offered and putting them up against each other. Over 100 frames per second. Actually, you can go 1080p with this game and it wouldn't be much of an issue at all. Barely little lag and barely little frame rate drops. And for our multiplayer test, Overwatch 2. Now, previous experiences with this is I usually only get 78, and that was using PikaOS's Proton, which is have its own problems. Always have to go to practice mode just to load in the Vulkan shaders. Here, I don't even need to wait that long, just one practice sesh, shoot some things, only 40 seconds, and it's more than enough to get me up and running and going into the fight. As you can see, a couple of frame drops here and there, but I didn't notice it that much because it's over 100 FPS, which is surprising because I never got this result on PikaOS. Maybe because we were using the Proton GE over the Proton PikaOS provided, but this is running smooth. I feel like this is going to wrap it up for today's video. Hopefully, I will continue on giving updates on what I'm doing with my computer, and here's towards the future of this channel of better production, better script writing, and better content for y'all to enjoy. Thank you for dropping by, and I'll see you again next time. And as always, stay strong.